All right, good morning, guys. I know we're starting the day off with blogging, so I do promise this is going to be a really, really good topic, and you're going to be really glad that you're here at 8:30 on the first day, I promise. So, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is probably why some people thought they didn't need to attend today's talk, is that blogging is dead. Nobody reads blogs anymore. Luxury couples, they're definitely not reading blogs. I mean, Instagram is the only way of the future. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. So I'm going to tell you about a client, Izzy. I have known this lovely photographer since 2014. I used to co-own a wedding planning, floral, and bridal boutique company. And when I first met Izzy, she had done blogging for years, right? She had tried it. She'd done everything under the sun. 2018, she comes to me when I start my agency and she says, all right, girl, take it away. This is one of the tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars we have booked for her from blogs. This is just a text from a few weeks ago. She booked a $15,000 collection from a blog post. And let me just tell you that $15,000 went up real fast when they got on a call for her. It ended up being over $45,000 of wedding weekend coverage. And you know how they found her? A blog post. Oh, a blog post. There we go. A blog post that we had written for her. So when we say that blogging is dead, it's not really going to work for us. I tell you, you know what? I want to change your mind today. These type of transformations are just one of many that we are able to get for clients and that our clients are able to get for themselves when they write these blog posts. My most important one is imagine being able to repurpose your blogs. How many times do you open up Instagram and you go, no idea what to talk about today. It's a pretty picture, not really sure what else to say. Imagine instead if you could have a blog post with hundreds of words that you can repurpose into dozens and dozens of options for you. So a lot of times when people come to me, this is like this repetitive circle we see. You hear you should blog. You come to me, come to this talk. So you start writing. You open up a Google Doc, a Word doc, you start writing. But you don't know what to write about. You don't really know how to do the whole SEO thing. I know when I started my business, one of my first Facebook posts from 2010 is, how do I get on Google? Like, that's where I started too. So your blog sits half done. It's in drafts. Or you post it, you feel really good, but you're not getting any leads. Nothing's really coming out of it. So you get frustrated, you give up, you try another day. And the thing is, you're not bad at writing. A lot of people tell me, Adrienna, I don't know how to write. I'm just really bad at it. And the thing is, you're not bad at writing. You're not bad at SEO. You just don't have that strategy and framework set up for you yet to make it something you feel comfortable doing. Because just like everything you do in your business, the first time you did it probably wasn't really that great. But if we keep trying, and I'm just telling you, you are not bad at it. So inside of this workbook, the reason I created a workbook for this is depending on your website, your blogging platforms might be a little bit different. So you might have WordPress, Squarespace, Wix. So we have some more technical things that are going to be inside that workbook depending on what your platform is, because we don't have enough time today to go into the nitty-gritty of every single platform. But we're going to have that inside of the workbook for you. I also have a few additional video trainings that are kind of dive a little bit deeper into a few concepts we have today. So I want you to really think of your blog as the voice of your business. We know that with younger couples, with the way people are shopping, they really want a connection. They're kind of craving it, especially in this post-pandemic world. They're looking for people that they can trust first and foremost. People don't trust vendors right now. It's just a fact that we have. So one of the ways we're able to really increase that is by increasing our voice. And my biggest thing is, unlike social media, we own it. I know you have had tons of friends who've lost their Instagram account and it got hacked, whatever, or the algorithm doesn't work, or it's just not working for you. But the thing with the blog post is that it can last a really long time. So your Instagram post is gonna last maybe a day or two, right? After a few days, you're not really getting comments on it anymore. Now a reel, we can usually get about a solid week ROI on a reel, but it's gotta go viral, it's gotta be really done well, and then again, drops off. But a blog can literally last you years. So that $15,000 wedding that turned into 45, I wrote that in 2022. That wasn't a new blog, but it gained enough traction that she is continuously booking items. And let me tell you, you're not gonna get that from Instagram. Nobody's gonna go to your Instagram, scroll back a year and go, yes, I know their voice, this is gorgeous. It's not gonna happen. But a blog is gonna give you that ability to have that content for a really, really long time. Because couples are looking for answers to questions. They have a lot of questions about getting married. So, fun fact, I am in over 60 Facebook groups, Reddits, Discord channels. I spend hours. I have a completely separate phone. When that phone comes out on the couch, my husband goes, oh God. Because I'm looking and they have so many questions, it's unreal. They don't know how to do this and they shouldn't. Why should they know this? And a lot of times the reason we're not getting the results that I just shown is we're not looking at it as a strategy. We're just throwing 50 posts out in a week and saying, all right, Google, come show up. But it doesn't really work like that. A big mistake I see a lot of times, and this is my photographers, is they just post a ton of images, no copy. And they're like, I blog every single week, Adrienna. And then I look at the blog and I'm like, how in the world is someone supposed to know anything about this wedding? They don't know the location, they don't know the vendors, they don't even know anything about it. Google also needs to be able to read content. So just like your website, where you need about 300 words a page, it's the exact same concept. Your blog is just an additional page on your website. So when we don't have things on it, it's not actually telling Google literally anything. We also need to share it. So another big thing is that we need to be sharing our blog posts. Just hitting publish, unfortunately, doesn't really work that well, and it's for a few reasons. With the rise of AI and ChatGPT, Google understands mass content. It understands when it's written by ChatGPT because all ChatGPT does is scrape the internet and regurgitate it. So we're getting to the stage where Google relies more on authority of a topic. So what that means is if you hit publish and you don't share it with your audience, why would Google share it with theirs? It doesn't have any authority. You haven't told anybody it's good. Google definitely is going to say, well, why would I show that? So for a lot of these results, for that blog for Izzy, we don't just post it and call it a day. We use other strategies like Pinterest, like a newsletter, sharing it in the Instagram stories with the link. It's really about making sure that link makes its way through multiple things, because if we just hit enter, it's just really not going to get us a great ROI, and it has a much harder time of actually ranking. And the thing is I will be honest, any type of SEO strategy, if someone comes to me and they say, I want results next week, marketing isn't your answer. Seriously, do ads or something. Don't do like long-term marketing, because it is not meant to be an overnight success. SEO really takes time. If anyone's ever worked with anyone on their business about SEO, they tell you that, right? They're like, this is gonna take a minute. But I bet you can guess, there we go. When do you think I started blogging for this client? Pretty obvious, right? So you'll see her first year, this client I started working with February of 2021. She was a newish business, stationery product, so had a ton of products. No one was looking at them. That year she averaged about 150-ish per month. We track these for our clients. This is how we're able to show them the ROI. 1,267 users. Not bad for a newer business, right? With consistent blogging, so just so you have context, 2 blogs a month, Pinterest, newsletter, sharing it on Instagram. Because I don't want you to think that I just hit publish and walked away. I definitely wouldn't have numbers like these. June through December of last year, 20,000 users. And the reason I actually picked this was I could have shown you a really pretty graph that only looked like it went up, but I wanted you to see what it literally looks like for a business. You guys are naturally gonna have slower times in your business. Your website's gonna ebb and flow. You will never just see, bloop, it just doesn't People are searching for different times. So for stationery in particular, their lowest on average is going to be June and December. People just aren't looking for stationery. For your venue, it's going to be probably towards the summer depending on your location. If you're a photographer, it's going to be in the summer. If you're a planner, it's going to be in the summer. Summer just tends to be slow. But even with her 2 slowest months of the year, lowest traffic, we still had 20,000 users, with 60% of those come from blog posts. Not just from her website, but from consistent blogging. And needless to say, this client continues to do the strategy. At first, her first year, she was like, I'm seeing something, what do I do? And I told her, just wait a year, and then tell me what you think. And now obviously, it does work, but it does take some time. And if you think luxury couples do not find vendors on Google, I really want you to think again. So this is a really great stat from Think Splendid. They do amazing, amazing market research in this luxury and ultra luxury, so like $500,000 up. A lot of our clients are in that price point, which is why I know that it can work really well. But I also believe in statistics. I believe everything can be backed with data. So 73% of luxury couples and 71% of ultra luxury found their vendors from an internet search. I'm in a lot of groups with this crowd, who are doing destination weddings in Italy where they pay for all 100 people to go to Italy, first class. They're still on Google, because at the end of the day, they're still looking. Like, why do we think that just because they're spending $1 million, they're not gonna look online? They're curious, they're excited, especially that little point right after they've engaged. Oh my God, they're so excited. Of course they're gonna Google, they're gonna Instagram. So regardless of price point, it can still work for you. So we're gonna go ahead, We're gonna go ahead and kind of break this down into steps. So the first step is, where are we gonna blog? So for some of you, you might have tried blogging. Some of you, this is brand new. So we're gonna kind of start at the beginning and then get more advanced as we go throughout. So just the QR code for you again, because like I said, we're gonna have some details on each platform. The biggest thing to know is that we want to blog where our website lives. So if you have WordPress, you blog on WordPress. You have Squarespace, you blog on Squarespace. You have Wix, you blog on Wix, etc. Pretty much every website platform nowadays has the blogging option. Now, for example, if you have Showit and you have WordPress, you might have to increase and pay a little bit more each month. But for the most part, they're gonna have it. And the biggest thing is that we need to make sure that we are blogging on our website. We get a lot of clients who come to us and they had a web developer build their website, but then they had a separate blog on another URL. We just don't want to do that. There's a ton of reasons I could go into for technical and SEO, but we just don't want to do it. We just want to start with the platform that we know and well, which is our website. So first up is WordPress, because again, I just want to do a nice visual if anyone's like, oh, I haven't really looked at the back end yet. So up here at the top, we have the title. So we're gonna go into what a title is, intro, and all of that in a few minutes, but just to give a nice little visual from when we get there. We have our title at the top, and this nice little section is where we're gonna just add the text and images. What's really great is a lot of these blogging platforms make it super easy, right? They want you to use it. They're not gonna make it super hard to find the stuff you need. Then on the right-hand side, we're gonna have things that we can do. So for example, a draft, just not published, just sits in the back end until it's ready. And then we can schedule, so publish immediately. One of the biggest tips is when you get into blogging, a lot of times people get really excited. They'll write 8 blogs. They'll post them all that day because they're so excited. I don't want you to do that. I want you to schedule them out, because the whole point of this is to create consistent content for Google. So if we're just posting it all at once, Google goes, cool, they did an update. Crickets. We want it to be, oh cool, they did an update. Oh cool, they did another one. Like, we just want it to be really consistent. So go ahead and schedule those out for yourself, so that way you have every other week or once a month, you have 8 months of blogging right there. And then categories. So categories and tags is a big thing I get questions on. Tags are not hashtags. I see so many people where they go like, hashtag Savannah Wedding Planner, hashtag best Savannah Wedding Planner, hashtag #1 in the USA. Tags don't mean anything to Google. Categories don't mean anything to Google. It literally does not matter what you do with it. It is for you and you only, for your audience to read it. So don't even honestly worry about tags. Like, it's just another category system. In categories, you just want to keep it really basic. So whatever you do, create 4 or 5 buckets that you talk about. So if you're a photographer, a planner, you do real events, you would go ahead and create one that's like real weddings and events. Another one that's inspiration, stuff like that. We just want a few buckets to keep it in. And this is going to be for every platform. WordPress just gives us the most options, which is why I kick it off with that. And at the bottom is this little thing called Yoast. If you have WordPress, this is just a nice little plugin. It allows us to tell Google a little bit more about our blog, which is really nice. It is not 100% necessary, but I do have a training in the workbook. I think it's just really nice because it has this really great red, yellow, green system. So it will tell you, oh, your blog's good, or oh, your blog's not very good. So it's just kind of nice if you're on WordPress when you get started, but it's definitely not like an end-all be-all. Now, Squarespace, if you have ever built anything in Squarespace, this is gonna look really familiar because it's literally the exact same thing. So when you design a page, you just click those little plus signs. That's all you do in a blog post. So really nice and intuitive. The only thing is some versions of Squarespace, there's 2 different ones out there in the world. So if yours doesn't look like this, it might just be a compressed version on your screen and it's just you have an older version of it. Is that up here is where we do all those scheduling things that I just talked about. They just have it in a little more hidden than WordPress does. But it's the same exact concept where we have the title, we add in those text and images, and you just click the plus sign. So if you've ever built anything on your website, it's gonna be super easy just like that. Now Wix, again, pretty much Wix and Squarespace, design-wise look very, very similar on the back end. So it's the exact same concept where you hit that little plus sign. It's gonna tell you what do you want to add. And then all your little fun things are gonna be on this left-hand side. So visually, everything is there. It's just sometimes it's a little bit more hidden. So next we're gonna talk about what a blog actually looks like. And the reason for this is I'm just an incredibly visual learner, and I figured most artists in here are. So there's kind of 2 layouts we're gonna talk about. Doesn't matter what layout you do. Really, Google does not care. This is just a visual representation of how you wanna do it. So this one is a common one where you have text with the images dispersed. This is a really great layout if you're doing something maybe educational with a lot of text and you want to visually explain what you're talking about. So for example, maybe you're doing one on venues. You are going to want an image of each venue after the text. So this is just kind of a nice little way to get it in there. So we kind of have title, intro, images, and then subheadings. Subheadings are a really important part of a blog, not just because of SEO, which is why everything happens, but because it's really great for a user. Because think about it, if you open up something, if it has 800 words of text, you are not gonna sit there and read it. Like, there's no way. Your audience isn't either. So the subheadings help for Google, but it also just helps visually to make it not look so like repetitive. And then the next one, this is a really common one that a lot of online publications and article companies used to do. They're starting to get away from that. They're starting to get a little bit more to the other one where it's like images and text. But this is a really great standard one that we do for real weddings because it kind of creates that cohesive gallery. So whatever, if it's an event, not wedding. I'm just using client weddings as examples. But it's that same concept where we have that title with copy broken up by all of the items. So it just makes it visually really nice. And then of course the vendors at the bottom are really important. We do want to make sure we're crediting vendors at the bottom. A lot of people ask, oh, but I don't want it to go to their website. What you'll do is it's going to open in a new tab. So when you add that URL in there, your blogging platform is going to have a little option that you click that says open a new tab. And what that means is it's just going to literally open another tab. It's not going to take them off your website directly because we still want to link, because what that does is create something called backlinks. And the way backlinks work is Google is like seeing us as this giant web, and it's trying to connect you with other people in your area because, again, it wants to help people find stuff. So, for example, if you work at a venue all the time, when you talk about it in the blog, Google knows. When you link it in the blog, Google knows. And then maybe Google's going to go, oh, this is Izzy. Izzy is always at the Charles H. Moore Center. I have done probably 40 weddings at this place. Izzy is always at the Charles H. Moore Center. So when a couple is searching Charles H. Morris Center, we should show them some of Izzy's work because she's always there. She's talking about it nonstop. Why wouldn't we? So the next one is going to be keywords. So there's a lot of questions I always get around keywords, but just the simplest form is that a searcher goes to Google and they type in a question. Google, I'm going to use Google, FYI. Bing and everybody does it the exact same, but we all know Google is like #1, so let's just make Google happy for today. Searcher types in that question. The search engine pushes back what it thinks the most relevant answer is. What that person typed in is simply a keyword. That's it. A lot of SEO people try to make it sound real complicated. It's honestly not. It's just that question. So the way Google is doing it is, like I mentioned, that web is Google uses these little bats. They crawl your website, and they put what you do into like a little folders. I like to think of it like a nice little folder system. They go, this person does this in this city. And they just keep adding to those folders again and again. So the more we blog, the more info they have in those folders to then give to us. So we have to convince Google that we are the most relevant resource, right? We have to tell them, hey, I have a lot to say. So I want us to think of our keywords as our blog topics. The question is your keyword, is your blog topic. I like to keep it really simple with that because there's no reason to complicate how it's really working. So our blogs are going to answer those most important questions based on that. And the same is going to go for a real wedding. So a lot of times people, when they're doing real weddings, real events where there's like names, they'll be like Katie and Shannon's wedding at blah, blah, blah. But no one's actually searching for Katie and Shannon. I'm sorry for them. Just no one's really going to search for it. So what are they actually searching for? The venue, the style, the time of year, especially if you're in a market where you have high and low seasons. Those times of year matter a lot. So we have a lot of clients in Lake Tahoe. If you're familiar with Lake Tahoe, very short window of weddings and events, like this big. So when we write for our Lake Tahoe clients, I'm using a lot of verbiage about that because I know for a fact that if someone uniquely wants a winter wedding in Lake Tahoe, they're going to be looking specifically for that season because of that. Now, the thing we don't want to do is this is called keyword stuffing. So this is a blog, and the person has Charleston wedding videographer Charleston, wedding videographer Amelia Island. That's the name of their blogs. This is a problem because it doesn't actually tell us what that blog is about, right? All it's doing is just telling Google the same keywords over and over again, and that doesn't work. And it's also kind of boring for our audience because if someone's on this blog, how are they going to know like what the heck they're going to be reading about? They're not, but honestly, most importantly, Google isn't. So we want to make sure we have that variety of topics. So for example, for this person, what I would say is, let's do how to hire a wedding videographer for your Charleston wedding. We hit 2 keywords that are search terms, Charleston wedding, how to hire a wedding videographer. Intimate summer elopement on Amelia Island. Again, keywords, summer, elopement, Amelia Island. How can we just add a little bit of variety? I also think when it comes to writing, it is so much funner to write about something than to just like have a really boring title to work off of. I kind of think the titles are really fun. So a few client examples. So this is Julie. Julie is here in Austin. Just talked to her last night. So these are just a few recent ones, just to again show you how we're having a variety of keywords for a single client in a single area. So 2024 wedding trends to inspire your Austin wedding. Do you see how I'm using local still? Because at the end of the day, 2024 wedding trends are really cool, but I want them to be specific for that audience. So I'm not going to include something that I don't think is going to trend really well in Austin. / no one's really just going to be searching and be like, oh, I'm going to get married in Austin now. They probably already have like a general location in sense. Elegant Texas Longhorn wedding at Austin Country Club. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but it's for a reason. We're not going to use the couple's names because no one's probably really going to be searching for them. Texas Longhorn wedding actually does really well. So we do a lot of research, but in this area, a lot of pride for that cakes. I had a few weddings where they like brought in like the bowl. Like we did a blog on that because people searched for it and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So that's kind of ways that we're able to create interesting titles that people might actually want to read as well. And then engagement session outfits, venues. You're going to hear me talk a lot about venue posts, and regardless of what you do in the industry, venues will always have 3 to 4 times more searches than anybody else. So like in Austin, last I checked, 19,000 a month. Photographer, it's about 1,900, just to show you the difference. It's just naturally going to be a lot lower. So we just tend to kind of, how can we hop on the venue train? So where are we actually going to find ideas? So you might be thinking in your head, okay, I have a few ideas, but how am I actually going to like see if anyone's searching for them? So the biggest thing is let's just go to Google. So Google has that autocomplete, and then now they have that little thing in the middle. If you've noticed, Google doesn't have pages that you click on anymore. It's a continuous scroll. But what Google is doing is it's literally telling you what other people are searching that are also searching that topic. So why don't we just take it, right? So Austin wedding venues with lodging, with a view, downtown, small wedding. These could all be really great topics depending on your industry, and we're just taking them directly from what Google is telling us to do. You can also see maybe if there's any, venues that pop up, that just means they're trending right now. Now let's talk about cheap and affordable and DIY. Always and forever will be a top search term. We cannot get away from it. People want affordable weddings. It is what it is. So just know it's going to be there. We have 2 options. 1, you just ignore it. You just don't write about it. 2 is probably one of my favorite things to do for clients is we do a twist on it. So for example, a very common one is how to DIY your wedding flowers. I'm a former florist, and that one hurts real bad. So what do I do for my florists who might do a lot of weddings? So for example, this might not work for someone who's doing $80,000 flowers. But for my clients who have a shop and do a lot of weddings, a few things we could do it. How to make your wedding day flowers affordable. And we show them whatever affordable options we have, whether it's weekday, whether it's certain in season. We have certain clients who have packages for that. Maybe it's a twist on how to not DIY or why you should not DIY your wedding flowers. If you search that right now, we're going to have a client's blog that comes up. She does really, really well for it in her region because people read it and they go, I kind of feel like I can't do it anymore. And that's the point. I want you to feel like, not in a bad way. I don't want to ruin any money. But I want them to be like, oh, I really should hire an expert. Or if you're a venue or you do options during the week that are more price point friendly, talk about it. Use the keyword affordable. Talk about how you can have affordable weddings in Austin because our venue offers weekday, or our catering services offer weekday, or our DJ service offers smaller packages. There's no reason to not get that as a client. They're still spending money even if it's affordable. So why not go ahead and show them? Pinterest. Pinterest is one of my favorite things. Pinterest is SEO, which is why I love it. It's not search, it's not social. It's literally just Google with images, which is why I think it's really cool. So if you go on something like Pinterest and you type in like Atlanta wedding, just see what pops up, or whatever city you are in. Just see what is popular. Because Pinterest is also visually going to show you what's popular, which I think in any event industry, knowing what people want to see is really, really important. Because if you're wondering what to share, why don't we share the stuff that they really want to see? We can also think of questions we get asked a lot. So I think of blogging as being a really great tool in our client experience. Because how many times do we get the same questions over and over again? And we're like, it's on our FAQ, why don't they look at it? Because they're not looking at your FAQ. FYI, they're probably just not looking at it. And it's not that they don't want to, it's just they don't realize why it's important. But if you can turn it into a blog post and then maybe send it to them in the process. So for example, we do a lot of email sequences when people are working with clients. So it might be a hair and makeup artist. And so what we'll do is, depending on the length before they booked, let's say it's 6 months before, we'll send a blog each month. And it'll say, things you should know 6 months before your wedding. So for example, a hair and makeup artist is going to tell them, don't try anything new 4 months before your wedding. Don't get it brand new facial, don't try a new product, don't do anything with your hair, just let it be. But that's a really great blog post to tell them things you should know 4 minutes before your wedding, things you should know about your trial. Go ahead and answer the questions ahead of time. When we are able to answer those questions ahead of time, they trust us more. They don't question us as much because they're like, oh, they got it. They'll tell me when it's time. Maybe it's, again, local venues, things in your area. You're getting asked all the time, who are the best XYZ? Create a post about it. Send it to them. Is it like etiquette? So we get a lot of like paper stationery product. So things like save the dates. How many should I order? The amount of people online who are like, I forgot that I should only order one per couple. Now I have double of every paper gun. Is like on a daily basis. And it's because I didn't even think about that when I got married. I almost had to stop myself to go, wait, do I need 700 or no, I need 7? So when we're able to provide that, it's really great. Engagement seasons, what are other things you can do to bring it in? Another great one is reviews. So I will say reviews are a secret in my business. When I'm making a strategy, when I am writing copy, the first thing I look at is your reviews because your reviews are going to tell me everything I need to know about you. Now this is a long review. We're not going to highlight all of it because I could probably come up with 30 topics right now. But let's look at the food is a real star. They created a unique menu for our guests with seasonal and regional offerings throughout the evening. So this one is in Estes Park. So this is a venue, so we could think of how we are able to create gluten-free menus, vegan, all the things type of menus. You could be sharing seasonally your favorite in-season stuff. So if you are someone who really wants to work with local ingredients, explain it to your couples. What are going to be the best meals that they're going to have that are in season with your area? This one also talks a lot about cocktails. And right now, alcohol-free, very big with Gen Z. A lot of them are opting to have dry weddings, but they still want fun cocktails. So if you're seeing that, why not create a guide to how you can make every single cocktail they love 0 proof? Okay, so we have keywords. Where do they go? And the answer is they honestly can and go everywhere. So let's break it down. Inside of the workbook, I'm also going to have each of these broken down for you guys as well. So the first thing is in that URL. So that's just simply the item of what it's called. And we want to make sure it's in there because it just really helps. Again, how can we make it as easy as possible for Google to understand it? Next is going to be your title. So this is what's going to show up on Google. So when you're Googling something, that blue bar that has like the text in it, that's your title for a blog. And then the little snippet is going to be called a description, which we'll go over in a second. This is up to 100 characters in length. So again, it doesn't need to be super long. We just want to throw in a few keywords if we can. This is another Austin one because I figured, why not? I have lots of Austin clients. So floral and ginger jar inspired wedding at Omni Barton Creek. Venue, style. That style in particular, super popular in certain areas right now. Next is again that heading structure. So like I talked about earlier, how the headings help break it up. Make sure at least in one of the headings we have something, some kind of information to tie it in. So this one has 2 headings. So we have reception at the Rock House at Omni Barton Creek. So we're able to kind of pull in both venues' names. So if you are working at specific areas and they use 2 different names, so maybe the cocktail hour space is called something, go ahead and throw that in there because there's a good chance someone might be thinking, oh, isn't it called that thing? And they search for it. We want to make sure it still comes up. Headings are something that Google also takes in terms of SEO because when Google reads your website, it reads at H1, which is going to be your title. So don't worry about H1. Your website platform, that's just going to be the title. Then it reads H2, then it reads H3, then it reads bullets, and then it reads copy. So it's not a huge thing for rankings, but again, every little tiny piece that we can get is really important to us. So just having that. In terms of H2 or H3, a lot of times it's going to be kind of visual on your website. If we can manually make it an H2 or H3, that's great, but I do understand some platforms, your font for H4 might be the font visually you want. That's okay. Just make sure it's some kind of header and we'll be good. Next is the body copy. So our keyword actually only needs to be used a few times. Again, we don't want to keyword stuff because Google is smart. It's also starting to see keyword stuffing as robots. It's starting to think it's ChatGPT now. And we don't want that. Remember, we want it to be authoritative. We want it to be written by a human. So we only need to use it a few times. The real strategy is our vendors. The pink are all the designs or vendors. That is the secret sauce to a good blog. Because we can throw in Omni Barton Creek a few times, easy. But the venue and the vendors are really important. So the gown for this particular couple, very popular gown that season. The low floor Randall, those little heels with the bow, and if you see them, you'll be like, yeah, I've done 60 weddings or events with that this year. Super popular, so again, pulling it in. But again, also Stems Custom Floral. I know they work with them a lot here in Austin. Very great florist. I want to build that web for them. Sperry Tent, a name of the tent because we know that's a higher end couple is going to be getting that really expensive tent in there. So we kind of go through Texas Wedding we threw in there too, again, just to try to throw in another keyword. But just to kind of visually show that it doesn't have to just be that one topic again and again. You only need it a few times. Next is the meta title and description. So this is something you manually need to add. I will say for context, I have in the workbook where to find it on your platform, but if some reason it's just overwhelming, it's honestly fine with the description. The meta title is just going to be the title of your blog. The meta description, Google automatically will make one for you. The problem is 9 times out of 10, what Google picks isn't what you really want it to pick. It'll pick something weird, like that doesn't make any sense. So when we're able to tell Google it's good, but it's also okay, it's not the end of the world when you get started. But it is something you'll add. So this is that little plugin if you have WordPress. On other websites, it just literally has type in the title, type in the description. But if we just kind of go in and add those keywords, so we have in the description, the style, tented reception, because again, we just want to pull in that keyword. With planning, we include the planner a lot or another key vendor because if they're bigger, we want to make sure, again, we're tying it all in. So let's talk about the images. Too many images makes a slow website, makes Google real sad. Really don't like it. And the thing is, it's not just Google doesn't like it. Your viewer is just not going to like it. So for context, if I looked at your Google Analytics right now, I would estimate 60 to 70% of your viewers are on mobile right now. It's super rare that we have someone where they have more desktop viewers nowadays. I would say that shift happened about a year ago. We saw the official mobile shift. So if it's on mobile, think about that too. If we have too many images and they're scrolling and it takes too long on your phone, that's just not really going to work. So we suggest 30 images if it's a full event. And the biggest thing is that our blog is not a portfolio. Our blog is not a full view of the event. Our blog is the best of the best, and I want them to ask for more. If I make a blog and it just tells everything, I haven't done my job right. Because I want to make a blog that's so enticing that they go, I want to see more. I have to contact them to see more. I actually want them to contact you. So I don't want to give them the kitchen sink. I want to give them the best of the best. And then hopefully they go, hey, I'd love to see more or learn more about that event that I saw on your website. Same tip for galleries. This goes exactly for your website gallery too. Keep that to the top 15. I want them to contact you all day long. And in terms of alt text, so some of you might be thinking alt text because we hear about it a lot. I'm going to be honest. It is very important, but it's also something that if you are just getting started, I have a 30-minute tutorial inside of the workbook. Go ahead and watch that because I'm literally going to show you exactly how I do it for clients. So what alt text is it's naming the image on the back end. It's technically for visually impaired. It's a really big thing we need to think about with ADA compliance. Because if they have a reader, Google's not telling them what the image is, right? We need to make sure we're telling them. There's a lot of strategy that goes behind it with keywords. We don't want to keyword stuff, right? We don't want every single image to be, again, best photographer in Savannah of all time. You want to actually describe the image. So if it's food, what is it? If it's a couple, where are they? What are they doing? Things like that. Like I said, that is, again, I could do a whole hour presentation on because it's a little bit more intricate. So I will have, like I said, a full-blown, straight from a course I have training for you guys. That's going to go into more like the technical stuff. Now we're going to write the blog. Guys, this is exciting. We're going to write a blog. I'm really excited, guys. I know. We write 60, 70 blogs a month in my business. Like, this is exciting, guys. We're getting there. For real events, 300 to 500 words. 300 words is going to be our minimum for anything involving a website. If your page on your website has under 300 words, Google says, ooh, don't like it. Don't really know what's happening. So same for our blog. So again, up to that 30 images. One note on the images, the way they're like collaged, where there's like, it looks like a nice pretty collage. There's a third-party app that I'll include in the workbook. It's called Blog Stomp. Now it's called Storytailor. But my biggest tip with this is don't use a third-party platform like Narrative. If you're a photographer, you're going to know what Narrative is. It's not super common outside of that world. But it's a third party, and we don't want to use a third-party app. You want to blog in your blogging platform. And it's for a few reasons. Whenever we see these really shiny third-party, they make it look so easy. They're like, your blog's going to be done in 10 minutes. Like, they make it seem great. It just adds a ton of code to your website that is really going to slow it down. 2, if you stop paying, it does go away. They will tell you it doesn't. I will tell you from experience it does. And if you ever want to edit it on a different computer, so for example, you hire someone to edit it or you have an assistant edit it, they can't. It lives on your computer. So we had a client come to guess what happened? Her computer died. Lost every blog she'd ever written in Narrative. So just keep it there. Educational, 400 to 1,000 words, up to 15 images. So again, images just help tell the story. Don't worry about stuffing it in too much. And the thing is, anything above 1,500 words, just break it up. I know that so many SEO gurus over the last decade that I've been blogging as a strategy since 2009. And they're always like, 5,000 words is the only thing. No, it doesn't work. It also doesn't work in our industry. So your average time on your website is going to be around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you are above 3 minutes, you are sailing above your competition. Let me just tell you that. So we know that our audience in particular has a much shorter attention span. So when I talk to friends outside of the events industry, they tend to have a longer one. Ours just don't. So when we get above that 1,500 words, we're actually hurting. A, it's just taking us too long. And B, it's not actually doing anything. Go ahead and break it up into a series. Have them link to each other. Just make it a lot easier for you. Now, there are some strategies where maybe you have one blog that's a lot longer because a lot of stuff links to it. That's fine, but for the most part, just keep it nice and short. So the intro. Now, this is just simply the first paragraph that goes over it. The biggest thing we want to talk about with the intro is I want to make sure in that first paragraph you say what you do. Because a lot of times, if our strategy works correctly, someone is coming off of Google that's never heard of you before. So if they went to that blog at Omni Barton Creek, you could literally be any of those vendors, right? They don't know, are you the venue, are you the photographer, are you the caterer, they don't know. So what's great with that intro is I want you to say, as a Austin wedding photographer, I love shooting here. Or as a blah, 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 blah. Just make sure you have it somewhere what you do, because our assumption is that they have never heard of your business before, and we want to give them some of that content. It also can be short. The biggest thing with our copy is keep it just a few sentences at a time. Again, it doesn't have to be super technical. We're not writing science stuff. We're just talking about things and events. So the content, every 300 words, we're gonna wanna break up with a subheading. So again, that's how we can keep it nice and short. So every couple hundred words, break it up. And remember how I talked about earlier repurposing? Every couple hundred words can become an Instagram post, a Facebook post, Pinterest. Go ahead and just reuse it. And when you break it up, just go off of how you naturally wrote it. Just take it off the blog, maybe format it a tiny bit for Instagram or Facebook, and call it a day. It's a lot easier than just opening it up and going, I don't really know what to talk about today. And then, of course, our call to action. So this is kind of that last paragraph. I see a lot of times this gets forgotten about. We write it, and then we go, all right, see ya. Book me, thanks. Hopefully they book you. But we also want to end it, right? So what do we want them to do next? Do we want them to contact you? Is it in a series, so we want them to learn more? Is it focused on your services? So we want them to look at your services. Just think about where we want them to go next. And then, of course, like I mentioned, credit the vendors, anyone that was involved, regardless of what type, educational doesn't really matter. If you have images, you have a photographer, just credit them, link to their website, so that way we can make it really easy for them as well. So inside the workbook, I'm gonna have, if you're like, I still don't know what to write about, I'm gonna have a ton of stuff. So when it comes to like a real event, and this doesn't just have to be like a wedding, but like just like something that happened in time, we do want to talk a bit about the couple if it is a wedding. And I think this is really important because at the end of the day, the couple chose us. And it is an honor to be chosen as a vendor, guys. They had a lot of options. They did not have to go with you. So when people ask, should I blog every wedding regardless of style? I will tell you yes. I'll tell you yes. Unless the client says they're private, then I say no. But I say yes. Because they will share it. And if your goal is to get referrals, they will happily. So I got married a few years ago. Only one of my vendors blogged my wedding, and only 6 of them even showed it on Instagram. I was in Martha Stewart, guys. I got published. Half my vendors didn't even share it. How do you think that made me feel as a couple? These were people I knew personally. These were vendors that I had worked with. And I know they didn't do it on purpose. I know it was 100%. Season got ahead of them. Just forgot about it. But even me, knowing all of this, having all of the context in the world, guess who got questions from their friends and family? Are they going to share your wedding? Ooh, no, they're not. So I'll get off my soapbox. But if you ever ask me, I will tell you, yes. Write every single one. You don't have to show every image. It's not perfect. Totally fine. Don't care about that. Just at least give them something. So for a venue, why did they pick your venue? Why did they love it? If you're a planner, the biggest thing, guys, is we want to talk about the couple a bit. We also want to talk about what we did for them. Couples don't know how hard we work. They just don't. How are they supposed to know how hard we work? We just show up and make it look good. But they don't realize that there might have been things that they have to think about. So maybe there was a certain package that they picked that you offered for them. Maybe as a planner, there were certain timeline issues that you really had to address. You know, they didn't want a first look, your photographer, and they said, nope, no first look, and it's 5 o'clock ceremony. So you had to figure out how to get those portraits in so fast. We're not going to say anything negative. We're just going to be like, the couple really wanted that moment, so we made sure to make it happen. It's nothing negative. It's just how we served them. Photographer, did we help with timeline? Did we do any fun, quick editing? With AI these days, you can have a slideshow done in like 20 minutes. They're a florist. What flowers did they pick? What season? Installations? What style? For a venue, what spaces did they use? Talk about the venue in general, especially if you do a lot of events there. Talk about why you love working there. Or is it the spaces? Is it the way the light hits? Is it the way the lavender fields in the spring shine brightly? I don't know. But you know there's something you love about it. Caterers, what food did they select? Did you create custom menus? Or is there anything in season that you really want to touch on? And get inspired by other blogs. If you're ever stuck, I tell people this all the time. Just look at publications. They do this for a living. And our couples know them. It's super rare that you get someone who's never heard or looked at an online publication. Like it's just a normal. It's just normal. So how do they do it? For example, Style Me Pretty focuses so much on the details, and they have sections. So one section's about the couple, one's about the details. If it's something like Green Wedding Shoes, it's like out of the box detail that makes you go, whoa, and super cool portraits. If you know your clients respond to that, do yours similar to it. And then of course, have your clients do the writing for you. You guys probably have to send them a questionnaire. Why not throw in a few questions that they can answer that you can literally just reformat later? So things like, why did they choose you? Why did they choose their vendor team? Why did they pick their venue? Was it a special location? Was it a special wedding date? You can get hundreds of words directly from them. So when we do this for clients, I ask, send me the questionnaire you sent them, because I know I can pull out a couple hundred words without even looking at the wedding yet. What was the most important part of their wedding day? I think this is really important. It's market research too. We need to know what matters to them to sell to them. So if you don't know what matters to them, I as a marketer cannot market for you, because I don't know what matters to them. I've never met them before, but you have. If it's a regular event, a lot of people do corporate. We write a lot about corporate events. What was it called? Where did it happen? Again, I know I talk about location a lot, but it's a key part of SEO. Where did it take place? If I was writing a blog about this special event, I would talk about any keynote speakers, things that I attended, things that I brought back with me. If I organized this event, oh, you better bet I'd write a whole series on it. I would be like, how we picked the venue, how we did this. Like, I would really want to showcase, especially if I want to book more corporate clients, I would really be focusing on it. Are there any special vendors, evening, entertainment? We know these conferences throw a lot at people. Talk about it. Because the whole point is to brag at this point and to be like, you want to hire me for your corporate job because I'm just really good at it. And then back to that educational. So this one's always, I feel like a little bit easier because we're just going to solve a problem for a reader. What was that question? What are we going to answer it with? So again, that's why they don't have to always be 5,000 words to answer it. Maybe you can answer it in 400 or 500 words. Go ahead and do that. What were common questions asked? So when you go to Google, what were things that couples or people were searching for? And we want to be providing new information. So whenever I tell new clients, all right, we're going to do some blogs on venue, they're like, there's 700 about Austin. Yes, but we're going to do it with your spin. If you're a photographer who focuses on elopements or certain styles, we are going to talk specifically about that. If you are a planner or a vendor who focuses on sustainable events, we're only going to talk about sustainable events, sustainable wedding venues. We're going to break them up so that we talk about venues or locations, but what we know about them, because everything you do in your business is different than the person next to you. I work with a lot of people in the same city. So I'll work with multiple photographers in Austin. Their venue blogs are not the same because they have different search queries, they have different audiences, they have different people we're trying to attract. I want you to think of what is special about your business and what makes it stand out. Because that's honestly the name of the game, is we gotta just stand out a little bit more. So for example, that wedding venues in Savannah, 5 wedding venues with a river view in Savannah. Very different couple is gonna go for a River Street wedding if you're familiar with the area. That same couple probably might not be looking for a historic wedding venue. Talk about modern, talk about outdoors. We did a really cool one for a photographer in Chicago. She's a big book person. She's got like a book talk and everything. So we did one based off of her favorite book-inspired venues. So a venue that reminded her of a book. Her clients love it because they connect. They go, oh my gosh, I love that book too. You're right, that venue would kill it. It also is fun, right? She was able to whip that out so fast because it's just easy because we like to do it. Or elopement venues. What are other things that we do that are more regional with that? So, my homework for you guys today is I want you to Google what you do in your city. And I want you to see what comes up. What do people want from me? And I want you to turn that into your first or next blog post. Because again, we just start somewhere. We just start small. What do we do in our city? And then we just see what people want from us. Google's going to tell us what we want. I encourage you to send the blog to me. I love reading blogs. I will even give you feedback. If you want it, I will record a Loom video and I will tell you every single thing to update that blog. Or I'll tell you it's perfect in every single way and I'll be really excited for you. But feel free to send me that first or next blog. I love when people do that on Instagram. I tell people all the time, because I talk about blogging a lot. And I tell them, send me what you got, guys. I want to read it. Sometimes I want to read it instead of write it. Thank you guys so much. I know we have just two. Does anyone have any very quick questions? I know we're pretty much at the end, but yeah, go for it.
You mentioned at the beginning about AI and how people can. Are you saying that we shouldn't use AI to write a blog post, or can we use that as a kickoff point?
Great question. So the question is about AI. Should we use it? So I think AI is great in ChatGPT. I have spent the last year perfecting my prompts for it. However, we cannot copy and paste from it because A, it sounds like a robot. So ChatGPT sounds real flowery. They talk about weaving a love story all the time for every wedding. If I see anyone talk about weaving, I go, yep, ChatGPT. Google knows that too. I love it for content ideas. So, hey, what do you do?
Catering.
I am a caterer in XYZ city. My specialties are 1, 2, 3. What are 10 blogs that I can write to attract my audience? And then it'll give you. And then you'll say, based off of blog number 2, write an outline of that blog post. And it'll tell you what to talk about. It's really great for that. I think it's great for ideas. I use it. I'm only, one human brain. There's tons of times where I'm like, all right, ChatGPT, I'm stuck on an Instagram post. But you can't ever copy and paste it. So our team usually, my writers are literal, writing degree wedding pros. They're all wedding pros who also have a writing background, and they're like, ChatGPT. But yeah, use it to prompt you, but definitely it's going to need some finessing because like I said, Google is recognizing it. And I will say in about a year or so, what I'm seeing online is that it will start downgrading those posts because it's going to get it pretty quickly. Yeah, hey, got a few minutes.
You talked about the different formats of blog posts, whether all the content is first and then the images. Does varying the blog format matter, or is it just for our boarding's sake?
No, so the format, the visual layout, so whether it has the images throughout, no, it doesn't matter. As long as you have text with some subheadings, that's the only structural part. How the images go in, all of that doesn't honestly really matter.
Use the same format throughout?
Yes. So we usually do that. So for our clients, we have 1 or 2 formats and we just rinse and repeat it. We're never changing the layout. Those 2 layouts are pretty much all we use. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to come find me today or reach out on Instagram and I will answer away. Thanks, guys.